She is a woman despised by millions of people in this country, in danger of being harmed, even though she's behind bars. Tonight, a revealing interview with the woman who killed Selena. You may remember that thousands of fans gathered in the streets to mourn the death of this vibrant young Hispanic singer, a rising star in the music world. And many still wonder, why did she die?
Selena wanted to become a household name, and earlier this year, in a most tragic incident, she got her wish. Selena died at the hands of her trusted friend, the woman you will meet now. What happened that day? Was Selena the victim of a woman obsessed? Only one person knows for sure. Deborah Roberts brings you her story.
35-year-old Yolanda Saldivar is beginning a life behind bars. 2 months ago, a jury found her guilty of first-degree murder of Mexican-American singing sensation Selena. She was given a life sentence. That's 30 years before a chance of parole. Saldivar will spend those years in a Texas women's prison under heavy guard, isolated from other inmates who may want revenge against her. She never testified during her trial, but Saldivar agreed to tell us her side of the story. We hope to make some sense of a killing that has wounded and bewildered Selena's family and fans.
They have made me out to be a monster. And I just want to say, I did not kill Selena. It was an accident. And my conscience is clear.
Selena was only 23 when she died at the hands of Saldivar. She was a Grammy-winning, undisputed queen of Tejano music. A lively mix of European sounds and Mexican salsa that was rapidly crossing into the mainstream because of Selena's popularity. The spirited young singer began her career as a child, performing in the family band formed by her father, himself a singer in his youth. Selena's flashy style and powerful vocals lifted her family out of poverty. In the last year of her life, she was a millionaire who was on the verge of a crossover career. And Yolanda Saldivar thought so too. She sought out Selena in 1991 in the family's hometown of Corpus Christi, offering to form a fan club. Soon, she was always at the singer's side, even quitting her nursing job to work full-time for Selena and run her new boutique business.
She was like a cuddling bear, teddy bear, that she would allow you to love her. I told her that I loved her like a daughter. And she goes, you know, I give you that right. She would call me Mom on the phone.
She called you Mom?
Yeah, she says, hi, Mom, how you doing?
Selena's parents questioned whether their daughter called Saldivar Mom, but says she was close to the family until early this year. That's when Abraham Quintanilla, Selena's father and business manager, says he discovered forged checks and other evidence that Saldivar was embezzling money from both the fan club and the boutiques. In March, both he and Selena confronted Saldivar.
My last words to her was that I was going to go to the police to see what we could do, you know, to charge her with something. She was stealing money. And this triggered the woman.
That day, March 9th, he says Saldivar left town with Selena's business records. 4 days later, she bought a gun. On March 31st, Saldivar returned to Corpus Christi and asked Selena to meet her at the Days Inn motel. She told her to come alone. The two women argued, and suddenly there was a gunshot. An injured and hysterical Selena raced from the motel room to the lobby, where she collapsed.
And that shot caused Selena to bleed to death. As she was running toward the lobby, she just bled to death.
Prosecutor Carlos Valdez pieced together a motive.
The defendant had wrapped up her whole life around Selena Quintanilla Perez. Her whole world was walking out the door, and she wouldn't stand for it, so she shot her.
Let's keep her alive and enjoy her music.
The grief-stricken Mexican-American community mourned Selena as an idolized daughter or sister. Thousands turned out for a candlelight vigil, saying goodbye to a shining young role model who never forgot her roots. The one thing no one disputes is what ultimately happened here at the Days Inn in room 158. It was Yolanda Saldivar who fired the single gunshot that killed the young singer. But why the shooting happened is still the subject of intense speculation weeks after the jury's conviction. The prosecution contends it was a case of cold-blooded murder committed by an obsessed fan out for revenge. But Saldivar insists it was all a tragic accident, a story she still stands by today. What happened that morning when Selena arrived? Did she say she wanted to fire you?
Never. She never told me that. I was telling her to leave. And I said, it's over, Selena. It's over. I can't work for you no more. I can't work for you no more. She went down. She grabbed my feet and told me not to leave her. And I picked her up and I told her, just leave. And I grabbed the gun, put it in my head. I pulled the thing back. And I said, if you don't leave, I'm gonna do it, Selena. And she got up and she says, Mom, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. I'm gonna close the door. And when she was walking to the door, she was going at an angle. And I told her, don't close the door. And in that instant, the gun went off.
But why didn't it hit you?
Because I was pointing to the door, and it just went.
Did you know she was hit?
No, I did not know.
There was blood along the door seal.
I didn't even look at the door.
But there was blood all over the room. How could you not see it?
The pictures that I see, they're dots.
Saldivar left the blood-spattered room and headed to her car with the gun still in her hand. She said she was looking for Selena. The next 9 hours became a standoff with police. Saldivar sat in her car, gun to her head, negotiating into the night before finally giving herself up. Many people have wondered that if you were really trying to kill yourself, why didn't you commit suicide when you were in the car all those 9.5 hours?
There were many things going through my mind. I could hear her in my mind telling me, stay behind, stay behind. I hear her tell me, you don't commit suicide because I'll never see you in heaven.
Jurors didn't believe Saldivar. It took them less than 3 hours to convict her. Prosecutor Valdez insists there was no evidence of an accidental shooting.
This was a simple case of cold-blooded murder. There was an intent involved, and she did exactly what she set out to do.
Despite all the evidence against her, Saldivar gives a strikingly different account of the shooting and the weeks that led up to it, contradicting witnesses and the Quintanilla family. Did you steal any money from Selena's business?
No, ma'am. Not ever.
Can you tell me if you were angry, frustrated?
No, I was never angry. I was never frustrated.
Quintanilla, now living with the silence of his daughter's empty recording studio, says his documents prove that Saldivar embezzled more than $100,000 from Selena. He also says he was increasingly bothered by Saldivar's possessiveness toward his daughter.
And I did start noticing an obsession with Selena. In my opinion, she was living a life through Selena. Here you have a person that's nowhere in life. Right before she killed Selena, I found out that she was stalking Selena by phone.
There were allegations that you were in love with her.
And that's not true either. And if people think that Selena and I had a lesbian relationship, you're not a fan of Selena.
Why did you decide you needed a gun?
It was after threats had been made against my life.
Who threatened you?
Her father.
Abraham Quintanilla threatened you?
Yes.
Quintanilla insists he'd never threatened Saldivar. He's convinced that she bought the gun to kill Selena.
She saw me as the person who initiated this. She saw me as the enemy. How much more could she hurt us than killing Selena?
Is there any way Selena or her family could have seen this kind of a death coming?
No.
No tips, no clues?
No.
Forensic psychologist Dr. Reed Malloy, though he never examined Saldivar, we asked him to take a look at our interview with her for any hints of obsessive homicidal behavior. He says the strongest clue is that she brought a gun to the final meeting.
Why is there a loaded gun there when perhaps there's a job termination? And two, why does she put the gun to her head in order to end the relationship? Those two are strikingly abnormal and are usually absent in any kind of relationship ending.
Dr. Malloy says Saldivar appears to fit a pattern of an obsessive personality. We ask him about her claim that it was she who was ending the relationship instead of Selena.
I told her no, that it was over.
Now, Yolanda is describing here the exact opposite of what Selena's family has described.
Yes, sometimes there's a reversal in these cases of roles. And what we may be seeing here is the person that's about to be abandoned, in order to understand it or justify it in her own mind, becomes the person in the position of doing the abandoning.
So her version turns everything around.
Exactly, the roles shift and the roles alter, and we have tragedy.
He was particularly struck by Saldivar's answer to our next question.
If you could go back and do something differently on that morning of March 31st, what would you do?
I would want her to kill me.
Dr. Malloy says that's an indication that Saldivar expected one of them to die that day.
Instead of her saying, I wish we were both safe and nothing had happened, instead she has to direct the aggression toward herself rather than Selena.
So you think that it appears that she was considering suicide here?
I think so. I think so. That's why these situations are extremely dangerous and unpredictable, because that homicidal impulse is shifting rapidly between the wish to kill the self and the wish to kill the other.
And there were just seconds there to determine who was going to die.
Perhaps even less than that.
Throughout our interview, Saldivar kept referring to a mysterious deep secret that she shares with Selena. She says they even talked about it on the day of the murder.
You talked about a secret, that you're protecting a secret.
That's true.
What secret?
I can't indulge that at this point because my case is in appeal. But I know that one day people will know.
Let's stop it there. I don't know if there's a secret, but I do know that by her saying she has a secret, she maintains a special, exclusive relationship with Selena that nobody else has.
Even now?
Even now.
Yolanda, whether it was accidental or whether it was intentional, you were responsible for Selena's death. How do you live with that?
It was an accident. I'm dead inside. I have no feelings. I'm like a walking shell. Selena will always be a daughter for me. She will always be that gentle child I never had. And I thank her for it.
There's a link to Selena now that nobody can devalue nor remove. You know, through one act, she has now established a notoriety that will remain, and her name will be linked to Selena's memory. And that, for her, in a sense, reestablishes that special fantasy.
Deborah, Yolanda Saldivar is in prison for 30 years without parole, right?
Right.
But she said that she wants her case to come up for appeal. Is that going to happen?
Well, her lawyers are trying for an appeal. They're also trying for a new trial. They have a hearing scheduled this month at which they'll argue that parts of the trial were handled improperly, and they'll also argue that police ignored her comments that the shooting was an accident and that they deliberately left it out of her confession. But they're arguing this before the same judge who heard the trial, so many are skeptical about whether it will work.
Selena was only 23 and on the verge of becoming a megastar.
And the thing that's so heartbreaking for her father is that he will never know how well she could have done. Ironically, her last album that she recorded before her death sold 3 million copies.
And now she's a legend.
She is.
Tragic, all around tragic. Thank you, Deborah.